Welcome to hour number 3, our third and final live right here on this Wednesday on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie. I am Ben. A jam-packed third and final hour for you here on this Wednesday. DRS, it's a big week on the PGA Tour. The guys make the trip across the pond. It's the Scottish Open, links golf, and everything that we get ready for in a British summer coming our way over in the UK. But it's not necessarily just that, as in Northern Ireland next week at Royal Portrush. We'll get ready for an Open Championship as well. So Keith Stewart will join us in just a little bit to talk about the Scottish Open. Pretty loaded field over there in Scotland, and what he expects to learn this week that will set the stage for the fourth and final major championship of this year in men's golf coming our way next week. We'll have some guests to break down the MLB slate on this Wednesday. And of course, we'll talk a little bit of WNBA action on the money line, live bets, and picks for another camp day in the W in the expected return of Caitlin Clark today at noon Eastern time in Indianapolis.
Yeah, every single game in the WNBA should be played in the afternoon in the summer. Everybody can watch. Everybody can enjoy. The ratings will be certainly fantastic. And it's nice to get an 11:30, 12:30, 3 o'clock game in the afternoon. Major League Baseball does it. It's a professional organization, multiple game, usually the getaway days have like 6, 7, 8, 9 afternoon games. I love it. A couple times a week, the WNBA should be in the afternoon. It's the best way to approach that business here. So I do like that, but a lot of hot topics to get through in hour number 3 before I got to hit a solo mission today on a Wednesday on Moneyline. So dipping into that Major League Baseball card that has been so friendly to us the past couple days.
No doubt, DRS. And now let's hear from the people. Again, as golf turns its attention international the next few weeks. This week, the Scottish Open. Next week, golf's oldest major. That would be the Open Championship over in Northern Ireland at Royal Portrush. We wanted to hear from you. Where would you play golf if you could? Any spot in the world. Where would it be? That was the question in Fade the Public. At SportsGrid on Twitter, where would you most like to play a round of golf? The 3 options we listed for you: Scotland, California, Australia, or other. That would be the old course at St. Andrews. That's a representation of mile 17 of the 17-mile drive in California at Pebble Beach. And while we're at it, hey, Royal Melbourne Golf Club in Australia as well. Do we have any pictures of New Jersey golf? That is the way that Donnie Rightside voted in this Fade the Public poll, going with other and then writing in New Jersey. So DRS, I assume that's the way you voted in this Fade the Public poll.
Absolutely, I voted that way. I sit right now 8 miles away from the number 1 golf course in the world, Pine Valley. So that's why I voted New Jersey at this point. I didn't vote because, Trump National and Pine Hill or Bedminster or wherever it is, or Baltus are all up there. It's Pine Valley, the number 1 golf course in the world, which would doesn't look like a lot of fun to play, to be honest, even when I was back playing my game at that point. But that's why I wanted to give New Jersey a little bit of love. But if we are looking at the poll itself, let's go over like Pebble Beach is fantastic. It's iconic. It's like the Masters Tour. Like you see it so many times on TV. You just want to play a course or even just walk that golf course to see, wow, here's where the 18th is here. Here's some of the tough holes. Look at the backdrop of the golf course. It's fantastic, no doubt. Australia, I have no idea why it's on this poll right now because nobody's going to Australia to play golf at any golf course anywhere. But the fact of the matter, we got 65% in Scotland. Let me tell you something about Ireland, Scotland, and the UK. Nobody wants to go there. You're forced to go there. Tell me why you would want to go play Scotland here, because you can play, hey, man, midsummer, it's 62 degrees and it's raining outside. Oh, that's the charm. Let's get a really hot beer at the bar because they don't believe in actually icing their beers down or keeping them cold. Let's go get a piece of meat. Hey, let me get a steak. Is this a steak or is this a mutton chop that you scraped off the road with your terrible food in Scotland? Who would want to go to Scotland to play golf here? Hey, how about this? Move that Scotland golf course to the United States. Yeah. Now we got a winner. About
65% of this Fade the Public poll selecting Scotland. It's the way I voted as well. Over in Scotland, DRS, golf is incredibly accessible. It is also incredibly easy to play some of the best courses in the world, some of the most historic venues in this sport. Not as easy here in the United States with private courses and public tee times, very expensive, like at Pebble Beach, where you must stay on property and spend basically an entire life savings to play at Pebble. It's why I want to go to Scotland. In terms of those conditions, you are correct. Even in those summer months there on the Isles, it can be a little bit gloomy and rainy and frigid, but still, if you can get a glorious Scottish summer day like we see in that photo of the old course at St. Andrews, then it is certainly worth it. I have a dream of driving around Scotland and Ireland there in the United Kingdom, although Ireland not a part of the UK. We don't need to get into geopolitics at this moment, and just playing as many golf courses as possible in a 6, 7, 8-day run, and capping off every day with a Guinness or some local ale. Because if you can't drink warm beer, you don't deserve the cold ones. I will say, though, DRS, having visited London last spring, the filtration system is certainly on the up. It is becoming more of a thing that they have colder and colder beer. Just wanted to throw that out there, just so you know.
And by the way,
you ever make
let
the
me
trip
throw this
across,
out there as well.
And for a guy that doesn't drink beer, not even really his concern. But yeah, just wanted to make sure you know.
Yeah, we are never making the trip over to the UK, Europe, or doing any of that. Like, your boy DRS is never going there. But having said that, too,
fair enough.
These golf courses linked style, they're next to like the ocean, the sea, as they like to say. Have you ever seen do they even have beaches? Are you even allowed to swim? Is it cold enough to swim or warm enough to swim? Because they look like the worst beaches in the history of the world. Like in New Jersey, we're miles away from some of the most pristine beaches on the East Coast or in the United States. Like they look like you can only pick up a stick and throw it to your dog where he can go in the water. Like, do they even swim over there? Like, what's the enjoyment of Scotland other than going to a bar and getting hammered? What's the appeal?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't really know if you can really swim in the water there. I would assume, although it's probably cold. But everything is relative, right? Everything is context. Maybe for us, it's cold. For those Scots, it's a beautiful day on the beach. What's the appeal of anything except getting hammered? It's what they do in Scotland and Ireland, man. It's why they have to do what they have to do.
Family vacation to Scotland. What did you do? I drank a beer. I watched the bagpipes. Now, after 12 hours, I'm ready to come home. There's nothing else to do there.
Yeah, well, I think it's a pretty beautiful place with a lot of history and culture, if you ask me. And I think the idea of pub culture is super cool as well. So DRS very much fading the public. About 66% of the public saying they would prefer to play golf in Scotland, where the Scottish Open is this week. And by the way, DRS, this week at the Scottish Open at the Renaissance Club over there in North Berwick, they have maybe taken a page from the WM Phoenix Open, that waste management. In the stadium hole, that par 3 16th, because look what we have this week over there in North Berwick. We've got a stadium hole at the par 3 6th. And look at that beautiful landscape. Bright blue skies over there in Scotland at the Renaissance Club. What's not to love?
I do like a nice par 3 here with the stadium course. But by the way, getting back to the link style courses, do they hire one guy to actually manage it in the entire country? And the goal is to burn the golf course out so it looks like your worst municipal golf course here in the U.S. But somehow that's charming. I love it, man. I'm beating on people today, man. Get in my way. Get a sock to the chops right here.
Yeah,
man.
you are.
That's what I'm doing it today.
Commanders, jerseys, golf in Scotland, nothing.
Everybody. Kevin Walsh.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Live right here on this Wednesday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Golf goes international and across the pond this week. The PGA Tour heads to the Scottish Open as we get ready for golf's fourth and final major next week. Golf's oldest major, the Open Championship in Northern Ireland at Royal Portrush. So to get you set for everything over these next 2 weeks with an eye on the Scottish Open, our guy Keith Stewart is here on this Wednesday to break it all down. Keith, as always, we appreciate the time, and thanks for being here.
Ben, Donnie, you know we love the PGA Tour, the Rocket, the John Deere, but come on, guys. It's time for some Scottish golf. I know in my heart that Donnie, he just loves the Linksland over there and the look of that dried-out playing surface.
Yes, he certainly does, Keith. Yeah. And as we get, go ahead, please, Donnie, go if you want to rebuttal.
No, like I don't like golf courses in Scotland, but I'm telling you right now, one of my favorite golf courses in New Jersey when I played, Scotland Run. So there is some little there's a little handshake agreement between me and the people of Scotland that can get down there. Links golf is fantastic, by the way. If I had to play a regular golf course or a link style golf course, I actually like the link style golf course. So there's that.
Yeah, Donnie doesn't want to mess around with any trees. Keith, I don't know if you knew this about DRS before he gave it up. He was a stick. He was near a scratch golfer during the peak of his golfing abilities. I don't know if we can validate some of those numbers, but it's what Donnie has told me a time or two. All right, enough about Donnie's exploits on the golf course and the best in the world that head across the pond this week to the Scottish Open, the Renaissance Club in North Berwick. And Keith, as we get ready for a new form of golf that we will see over the next 2 weeks, and we see links golf, first in Scotland and then in Northern Ireland at the Open Championships. How does it differ than what we normally see here in the United States? And what is the key to having success when it comes to playing on the links?
Ben, that's a great question. It's definitely something that people should be paying attention to as they're building out their lineup cards when it comes to the Scottish Open this week. You're going to see a lot more of the ground game. And what I mean by that is that guys are going to be hitting to targets that are far away from the pin, and they're going to have to accept the fact that, maybe 20 or 10% of the shot is going to have to roll out in order to get it close, rather than the usual target golf that they're so used to over here. We got to start with the weather when it comes to North Berwick over there, right? We are on the Firth of Forth. We are right on the coastline, right next to Muirfield, right? It is windblown land. It has been dry over there. We're going to get a firm and fast test. Now, that being said, this week, the conditions look absolutely perfect for scoring. And in calm conditions here at the Scottish Open, the average winning score has been around 18 under par. Now, we've been here 6 times to the Renaissance Club, and you'll love this, Ben. In those 6 trips, the first 3 times ended in a playoff. The last 3 were one-shot victories.
Impressive stuff here. And by the way, I like the way this tournament sets up as well, Keith, because you have some big names, which we'll get to in just a few moments. But talk to me about some of the golfers, stateside, who really like to get out there and play the Scottish Open as that warm-up before they take on the Open the next week.
Well, Donnie, 3 years ago, the Tour and the DP World Tour, which is now, what we always knew as the European Tour, they went and they made it a co-sanctioned event. So as such, there's 156 players in the field. Top 65 in ties make the weekend. Now, I bring all this up because there's 84 players from the PGA Tour, and there's 72 men from the DP World Tour. Now, if you look at it historically, since it became co-sanctioned, the guys that make the cut, around 70 guys that make the cut, 45% of them have been from the DP World Tour. So if you're playing daily fantasy or you're building out your betting card, you got to pay attention to that. We all have a domestic bias. I know we do. I don't go over there looking for haggis. I'm looking for McDonald's. I get it. But the point is that if you want to win money this week, you got to pay attention to these DP World Tour guys.
And yet, Keith, when we look at the odds board, of course, it is very familiar names and faces with the shortest prices. Scotty Scheffler back in the field in a short number, plus 360, half and then some of every other golfer in the field. You think going across the pond, next week's Open at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland, near Rory McIlroy's hometown. Of course, we keep an eye on Rory at an 8-1 number. Last year's champion golfer of the year, winning the Open Championship, Xander Schauffele at 18-1. So let's get into it here as we look at the odds board and maybe some early leans on the early line. Keith, who do you expect to have a good week over at the Scottish Open?
Well, hey, you know what, Scotty? Maybe a tale of 2 years. Last year he was third. A couple of years ago he actually missed the cut, believe it or not. Rory, he just shaved his head. So take that for what you want. But that, crossing the Atlantic cleanse, maybe he's ready for business. He's heading to Northern Ireland, his home golf course, Royal Portrush next week. And he's been good at the Scottish Open. But I'm looking a little bit further down the board for my early leans on the early line. And the first guy, sometimes they talk about change not being great for professional golfers. But you know what? Colin Morikawa sitting at plus 2,500 on the board, around guys like Tommy Fleetwood and others that basically just don't win. Morikawa has been a good links player. And you know what? He was 8th at the Rockets, so we know he's in good form. But there's been a lot of drama surrounding Colin lately, right? There's a lot of drama going on with this light right now in my background. But I'm neither here nor there on this. Here's the thing. Colin switched caddies again this week. And I love the guy that he picked, Billy Foster, an Englishman, right? A very direct guy, a no-nonsense guy. Colin's been dealing with a lot of drama. And the fact of the matter is that I think he needs a guy that says, hey, hit the 8-iron, or the putt breaks here, or hey, let's move on. I know you made a bad score, or you made a good score. Don't get too high. I love this move, and I think it could cause some immediate results for Colin. So I'm getting behind Colin. The second guy is an Englishman, Matt Fitzpatrick. And uniquely enough, when Matt won the U.S. Open, Billy Foster was his caddy. But that's not the reason why I'm taking him. You look at the betting board, starting the week, FanDuel, plus 4,500 on Fitzpatrick. He's all the way down to plus 3,500. I'm not the only one thinking this. In 6 trips to the Renaissance Club, he's got a couple top 10s. He's got a 14th. He's a good, solid English United Kingdom player. I love Fitzpatrick over there. Last couple starts, a 17th and an 8th. The game is in good form. Put him on the fescue slow greens over there, and I think he finds a little form and maybe some magic come Sunday.
It's going to be a great week over at the Scottish Open. And then, of course, we turn our attention in Northern Ireland in the Open Championship next week from Royal Portrush. And Keith will be here to break it all down. Keith, as always, we appreciate the time, my man. Looking forward to what happens this week over in Scotland. And, of course, golf's 4th and final major next week. All right, plenty more to come on the early line. We'll go around Major League Baseball up next.
I say, you crank that Soldier Boy, right? You Darvish back on the mound. Haven't seen this guy in a minute right now. Yeah, man, crank it, man. Get it going up. Hit the high. Yeah, let's go. Crank that Soldier Boy up here. Yep. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. That was big back then. Where were you? Senior high school? Or maybe even in grade school then?
Bar mitzvah slate. In the bar mitzvah slate each and every weekend. The young Benny Steve was out there hitting it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Tony Gwynn had 107 career at-bats against Greg Maddux. Never struck out once.
Oh,
that's nuts.
In 107 times. 107. Cam, if you took the modern player and said, are you going to face Maddux 107 times in a row? Like Vlad Guerrero Jr. and these guys, they'd strike out like 62 times type thing.
Exactly.
They'd be like 80 times. They'd be like whiffing.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Scrounge out a couple of quarters from under the couch to go trade for somebody who would actually make some money. I don't think that he would actually do that. That's not in Hal's style the last couple of years, especially in season. I saw they signed that Heimer Candelario, who the Reds released. That's more their style, going the discount aisle as opposed to trading for someone who's actually having a huge year like Suarez.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Would be looking to get him in dynasty or keeper leagues. If I'm out of a league and I'm looking to rebuild for the next years ahead, that's where I'm looking. Yuri Perez is a special young pitcher that we're going to be talking about in that Paul Skeens, in that Tariq Skubal, in that grouping of guys. I think he can be that good. He's only 22 years old. He's the boy. So you're getting a situation here where Yuri Perez eventually is going to grow into that man of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Plenty of baseball to break down over these next few segments, live right here on the Early Line on SportsGrid. And from the brilliant baseball mind of one Donnie Rightside, we look forward to this full slate Wednesday around MLB. A slightly earlier start today, DRS, at least as I am seeing it here. A little bit after 5 p.m. Eastern time in Detroit, between the Tigers and the Rays. Detroit has taken the opening 2 games of this week. They have won 5 in a row. Yeah. And now can they win 3 straight against Tampa? They are favored to do so. Reese Olson on the bump. Minus 146 is that updated price. Total is 8. What's the play in Motown on this Wednesday?
Yeah, the bats are scaring me here for Tampa Bay. Outside of Tampa Bay, these past 2 games up there in Detroit, they really haven't recovered. 1 run and 2 runs here, not enough to get it done. And when you're playing a team as good and as balanced as the Detroit Tigers, that's not going to work. Yeah. But the key is, can the bats bounce back today? Zach Littell's going to be on the mound. How about a 95 xFIP minus over the past 60 days and a 2.84 ERA, which equates to a 3.88 xFIP number? He's been pretty good, but you take a look at Reese Olson. His last 60 days been a 2.51 ERA, a 96 xFIP minus, and a 3.93 xFIP number. So for me, I look at this and say, I got burned the past 2 days thinking that the better side, or should I say the more valuable side, getting plus money was Tampa Bay. I'm not going to go against it today. Do I love the minus 144? No, I don't. But it seems like a getaway day. 70-degree temperatures, you like that. Yeah. Crosswind, more of a right field flagpole to left field flagpole, so it really shouldn't impact. But I think Detroit's better, but I look at that 8. I don't know if we get to 9 runs today. 2 decent pitchers on the mound, and we're not going off of the Tigers' offense. I'm going on what I've been presented from Tampa Bay for the past couple nights here. I just don't see a lot of it there. I'd be surprised if we get the 9 runs. We'll keep it to the under in Motown today.
This is looking for a 3-game series sweep for Detroit. They've got the day off tomorrow. They welcome in the Mariners for their final weekend set before the All-Star break. The Rays have been on the road now for their 2nd consecutive series. Quick turnaround for Tampa. They fly to Boston tonight. They take on the Red Sox, their divisional foes, for a 4-game set in Fenway to end out the first half, if you will, before the All-Star break. The hottest team in baseball, DRS, that's the Blue Jays. Some day baseball on the south side of Chicago. Toronto looks for 11 consecutive wins. Minus 156, the favorites to do so against the Sox. Total 8.5. The Jays are 1 win shy of their franchise best win streak. That would be 11 wins, matching that record in franchise history. Will the Blue Jays accomplish that today in Chicago?
You would think so. And forget about even the pitching matchups. Just a really good baseball team against a bad baseball team. One team looking to close out the first half, or the unofficial first half of the first season. First half of the season before we get to the All-Star break. And that's Toronto. They've been hot. Now you take a look at that total at 8.5. it's hard to take an under the way the Toronto Bats have really woken up. But here's the issue that we have. Like Adrian Hauser, he's got a 97 xFIP minus, which is right around average for the past 60 days. But how about a 1.60 ERA, which is pretty impressive, and a 3.97 xFIP number? You take a look at Eric Lauer. He's a slippery left-handed pitcher, 95 xFIP minus and a 2.51 ERA. So if you're just using those old school metrics saying, hey, man, I don't know if we get to 9 runs, but again, it's hard to doubt the bats of the Toronto Blue Jays right now. But here's the one thing that I do know. One team is streaking and very good right now. One team is just really bad. And you look at the lineup here that doesn't hit left-handed pitching all that well for the White Sox. So maybe just keeping it simple and saying, ride that streak, because I would be surprised if Toronto loses today. Now, we don't know exactly what the lineup is going to be. In day games, sometimes it can be tricky where some key players might sit down. But instead of messing with the total, saying, like, ooh, I hope maybe they don't score, like, just take Toronto to win again. Good baseball team, bad baseball team. Trust them to win it. Minus 154. It's not a crazy price on this. Extend that streak. Yeah. Extend. How about that?
Their 10th straight win yesterday, DRS. In only 7 innings, a rain-shortened game, and still played at 6 runs against the Sox. Can the Dodgers snap now a 5-game slide? Or will the Brewers pick up a sweep today with some afternoon baseball in Milwaukee? Good news for the Dodgers, who is on the bump for the first time since late April, making his return, who has been their de facto ace, Tyler Glasnow, at least on paper. Minus 158 as Glasnow makes his first start since April 27th. What can we expect out of Glasnow? And will it result in the Dodgers snapping this 5-game skid?
I think they do snap out of it today. Like, you had the Miz on the mound yesterday. I was like, ooh, man, left-handed pitcher, really tough. You have the opposite on the mound today. Soft-tossing Jose Quintana. Now, here's the issue. He doesn't strike anybody out, which means the ball should be in play. But he is a crafty veteran pitcher. But if you're just trusting the analytics, 28 pitchers on the card today for me, Ben, over the past 60 days, minimum of 10 innings pitched. You know who's number 26? That's Jose Quintana on that card. Yeah. I do think the Dodger bats break out in this game. And you know what? I'm going to trust Tyler Glasnow not to go 3 innings and give up 6 earned runs today. Bounce back for the Dodgers. I'll trust Glasnow, even though I probably shouldn't.
5 starts this year for Glasnow, but his first since late April. Plenty more baseball next.
I say, you crank that Soldier Boy, right? You Darvish back on the mound. Haven't seen this guy in a minute right now. Yeah, man, crank it, man. Get it going up. Hit the high. Yeah, let's go. Crank that Soldier Boy up here. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. That was big back then. Where were you? Senior high school? Or maybe even in grade school?
Bar mitzvah slate. In the bar mitzvah slate each and every weekend. The young Benny Steve was out there hitting it.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Tony Gwynn had 107 career at-bats against Greg Maddux. Never struck out once.
Oh, that's nuts.
In 107 times. 107. Cam, if you took the modern player and said, are you going to face Maddux 107 times in a row? Like Vlad Guerrero Jr. and these guys, they'd strike out like 62 times type thing. Exactly. They'd be like 80 times. They'd be like whiffing.
Sports Rage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
Scrounge out a couple of quarters from under the couch to go trade for somebody who actually makes some money. I don't think that he would actually do that. That's not in Hal's style the last couple of years, especially in season. I saw they signed that Heimer Candelario, who the Reds released. That's more their style, going the discount aisle as opposed to trading for someone who's actually having a huge year like Suarez.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I would be looking to get him in dynasty or keeper leagues. If I'm out of a league and I'm looking to rebuild for the next years ahead, that's where I'm looking. Yuri Perez is a special young pitcher that we're going to be talking about in that Paul Skeens, in that Tariq Skubal, in that grouping of guys. I think he can be that good. He's only 22 years old. He's the boy. So you're getting a situation here where Yuri Perez eventually is going to grow into that man of a pitcher.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Wednesday on the early line on SportsGrid. Another full slate on this Wednesday around Major League Baseball. So helping us break it all down, we are pleased to welcome on Danny Vietti, live right here to TEL, the host of the Wake and Rake podcast for the Believe Podcast Network. We're glad to have him here on this Wednesday to go all around the bigs. Danny, appreciate the time, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, you bet, fellas. Appreciate you having me.
So let's dive right in, Danny. A game we just hit on briefly right before the commercial break. Good news for the Dodgers, who are now in some desperate need of those good tidings. They have lost 5 consecutive games, but Tyler Glass now set to make his return for the first time since late April to the bump today. The Dodgers hoping to avoid the sweep in Milwaukee against the Brew Crew. They are favored to do so, Danny, in the total at 8.5. It's good to see the Dodgers having Tyler Glass now back, and LA reflected in price as a favorite to avoid that sweep and snap their slide today against the Brewers. But how much can we trust Glass now in his first start since late April?
Yeah, it's going to be a short leash for Glass now. This is a guy that has not just injuries this season, but this is a guy that has a very lengthy injury history across his Major League Baseball career. So Glasnow is dominant. He's a guy, I don't know what his over-under strikeout totals is set at this juncture. I think that would be a smarter play than, say, whatever his innings pitch over-under might be, because that's the kind of electric stuff that he possesses regardless of what he's dealing with, discomfort-wise, health-wise. He's got strikeout stuff. And Milwaukee, the opposite of that would be that Milwaukee is a team that doesn't strike out nearly as much as most of the teams in the league. They have one of the better strikeout rates in baseball. But again, Glasnow is a guy that goes out there looking to strike out guys. He's not going out there to try to pitch 7-8 innings, especially with a restricted pitch count. So to answer your question, pitch count wise, it's going to be limited. But for the Dodgers perspective, this is a team that has dealt with injuries to that starting rotation all season long. So they're hoping they got Ohtani back now. They got Glasnow back now. They still got Yamamoto into the fold. So they're hoping to get healthy as they creep near the deadline so they can have an idea of what their roster is going to look like post-deadline as they creep towards the playoffs.
Yeah.
And certainly, Danny, who would have thought that we'd be heading into like the Major League Baseball All-Star break with the Dodgers on a losing streak? Probably expect them to be on a 10-game win streak here with how talented that team is. We'll see if they have a bounce-back performance. Let's get out to the West Coast. Another NL West team, San Francisco, in unbelievable fashion last night. A walk-off 3-run inside the park home run to take down the Philadelphia Phillies. You had that 3-1 lead courtesy of a Kyle Schwarber splashdown home run. Verlander versus Luzardo on the mound today, a slight favorite towards the Philadelphia Phillies, but right now, the Phillies just can't hit. Does it creep up today where they go, hey, Verlander's on the mound? That's a guy we might be able to hit today.
Yeah, Patrick Bailey, of all the players to hit an inside the park home run, I don't think he would have been near the top of the list. He probably would have been near the bottom. A guy that's hit all season, $170, has one of the lowest OPSs in the league. And, oh, by the way, he's a catcher, so he's probably not the fleetest of feet either. In San Francisco, I mean, that ball went, I think, 420 feet. It just hit off that brick wall. Pretty remarkable stuff. It was the first time in MLB history that there was a leadoff inside the park home run, which was done by Lawrence Butler over in Sacramento, and a walk-off inside the park home run in the same day with Patrick Bailey. But yeah, looking ahead, Verlander has struggled. He gave up 6 runs in his last start. He really just hasn't been able to, show the Verlander stuff that he has in the previous career. And we knew that going in. It would be wrong for us to assume that Justin Verlander at 41 years old is Justin Verlander of his previous days. So the Phillies have struggled a little bit offensively. They've dealt with some injuries. They finally got Bryce Harper off the IL about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. He's still looking to get things going. Castellanos is hitting the ball well right now. Contact-wise, the power numbers haven't quite been there. Similarly with Alec Bohm, the power numbers haven't quite been there with him. I think right now the guys are making solid contact. They're hitting singles. I think the OPS and slug percentage is really what Philly is most concerned about, because these are guys that like to slug. Your Schwarbers, your Castellanos, your Harpers, your maybe Alec Bohm hasn't shown the pop that we hoped we would see. But I think for Philly, it's less about contact. It's less about singles. It's really getting back to going gap to gap and hitting the ball over the fence like they were 2 years ago when they were in the NLCS.
Schwarbaum had the homer late, splashed down in San Francisco, only for that 3-run walk-off inside the park home run for Patrick Bailey, our first walk-off homer inside the park variety since 2016 in Major League Baseball. All right, Danny, let's keep going around the diamond. We head to Camden Yards in Baltimore, game number 2 of our midweek set between the Orioles and the Mets. Yesterday, New York rallying and then winning it in extras 7-6, courtesy of an RBI single and the game winner from Juan Soto. The Mets, of course, struggled to end out June, 3-13, dropped their opening game in July, but since Danny have now won 5 of 6. They are favored on the road to make it 2 straight against Baltimore. What's the play tonight at Camden Yards?
Baltimore very quietly has kind of crept back into things. And you look at the standings, you might not think, all right, that's a bit of a stretch. You know, there's still 13 games back in the American League East. But when you think about it, like, do you truly, as a fan, as an analyst, do you truly trust Toronto at the top of that division, who are 16 games over 500? Yeah, 10-game win streak, I think it is now, and they absolutely deserve our respect. Call me a hater all you want. But this is a team that hasn't shown an ability to stay atop that division. Right underneath there, you have the New York Yankees, 3.5 games back in that division. The Yankees, they got off to a really good start, but I was kind of preaching this, and I didn't want to die on the hill. But the Yankees on paper are a very decent team. They're not a great team. They have to have everything go right. They have to have Aaron Judge go on a hot streak. They have to have Carlos Rodon make a great start. They have to have everything click for them to be a successful team. When everything doesn't go well for the Yankees, they're decent. I would argue that the Tampa Bay Rays, at least at this juncture, is probably the most consistent team in that division, them along with Toronto. Again, they deserve some more respect than I'm giving them right now. But Baltimore, since June 1st, they're 19-14. And this is a Baltimore Orioles team that coming into this season, they were considered one of the favorites to win that division. And all of a sudden they get off the rails a little bit to start the season. Adley Rutschman hasn't played up to his potential. Gunnar Henderson wasn't playing up to his potential. And these young guys, a lot of them, guy like Jordan Westberg was starting the season on the injured list. So this is a team that has all the talent in the world, and they're finally starting to play up to that potential. And I'm not saying that, they're going to win the American League East this year. It's still 13 games back. But right now, I have a feeling the odds are very much against Baltimore. And if you're looking to kind of hit lightning in a bottle with a sports bet, maybe Baltimore could be that answer.
Yeah, we'll see if those bats wake up. High expectations coming into the season. We'll keep with another New York team here quickly with you. Also, Seattle and New York. Evans going up against Schlitter. A Major League Baseball debut today for a kid that's been in the minor league system. 14 starts this year. A 2.82 ERA, which is good, but got lumped up a little bit in his last start in AAA. Major League debut in the Bronx as a favorite today for the Yankees. 9.5 as the total. The Bronx Bombers busted out last night. Aaron Judge hit a home run. Even Cal Raleigh got one late in that game for the Mariners. Are expectations high again for more runs in the Bronx today, do you think?
Yeah, no doubt. This is a team, like I kind of just mentioned, this is a team that's looking to get back on track, the New York Yankees. They just got Stroman back from the IL, which just, it helps a rotation that's been kind of hindered, especially with Luis Gil starting the season on the injured list. Garrett Cole started the season on the injured list. I would argue that the Yankees have actually exceeded their expectations. Like I said, when you look at this team on paper, it's a solid team, but they're really missing that big bump in the middle of that lineup. They're missing that big bump in the middle of that starting rotation. A lot of the reason because they don't have Garrett Cole. But you look at the rotation, Carlos Rodon, very good, possible all-star pitcher. Max Fried's been phenomenal this season. He's exceeded his expectations. After that, Will Warren, Marcus Stroman, like decent. You look at the lineup. Jason Dominguez has been, his OPS is hovering around 760. He's been decent. Aaron Judge, MVP. Cody Bellinger has been good, solid. They just got Stanton back. Goldschmidt has exceeded expectations. This is a team, like I mentioned, I think if they exceed expectations, which is a lot to ask for a complete roster, they're going to be a playoff team. But right now, they're kind of hitting the skids a little bit, and those players that were exceeding expectations no longer are. So I personally think it's a bit of an uphill climb for New York. And I wasn't going to die on this hill, but I think the New York Yankees are limited to 1-1.
Dan, we got to take it to break. Thanks so much.
I say, you crank that Soldier Boy, right? You Darvish back on the mound. Haven't seen this guy in a minute right now. Yeah, man, crank it, man. Get it going up. Hit the high. Yeah, let's go. Crank that Soldier Boy up here. Yep. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. That was big back then. Where were you? Senior high school? Or maybe even in grade school? Then?
Bar mitzvah slate. In the bar mitzvah slate each and every weekend. The young Benny Steve was out there hitting.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
I mean, Houston beat the snot out of the Dodgers, 18-1. And this is what happens here. Oral Hershiser doing the game for the Dodgers brings up the cheating scandal, going, oh, they must know the science because they're hitting curveballs that they know it's coming. It's like, oh boy, did you really want to go down that rabbit hole again here? I think this is one of those nights where they got destroyed. Yeah, hey, it happens in baseball here. But just found that an interesting comment by Oral Hershiser. Start bringing up the cheating scandal again.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Things you have to look at is what the team has the following day, especially when it comes to bullpen usage. You know, a lot of the things I like to attack is you see these extra inning games, these games get drawn out, these bullpens get worn, or if someone gets shelled the first 3 innings and they got to go to the pen, you know, early, you know, that's a good spot to kind of hop in the middle of the next game. You know, you got a tired bullpen, right? You try and take advantage there, maybe with an over, maybe with the money line. You're getting plus money on a favorite at that point.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Tony Gwynn had 107 career at-bats against Greg Maddux. Never struck out once.
Oh, that's nuts.
In 107 times. 107. Cam, if you took the modern player and said, are you going to face Maddux 107 times in a row? Like Vlad Guerrero Jr. and these guys, they'd strike out like 62 times type thing.
Exactly.
They'd be like 80 times. They'd be like whiffing.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
A quadruple header Wednesday around the W, including a couple of early games in the afternoon hours. Have some lunch in the WNBA. And to help us break it all down from CBS Sports and Sportsline, Calvin Wetzel joins us here on this Wednesday to go all around the WNBA. Calvin, a big day in the W, not just 4 games, but the expected return of one Caitlin Clark this afternoon in Indianapolis, noon Eastern time in Indy for the Fever and the Valkyrie. We appreciate the time, Calvin. Thanks for being here on TEL.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me. It's such a fun slate to break down when we get these all-day hoops, you know, morning to evening. I love it.
So we'll get to the Valkyries and the Fever in just a moment in Indianapolis, but let's go in order. And let's start with our first game in the Wednesday matinee. That's 11 a.m. Eastern in Connecticut between the Sun and the Storm. Now, Calvin, if you've been following the WNBA the last few years, you might look at Connecticut in the cellar of the standings at 2-16 and see a 17-point spread today in favor of Seattle on the road and think, what's going on with Connecticut? Well, a lot of roster change this offseason. Alyssa Thomas gone, DeWanna Bonner gone. Head coach Steph White now works in Indiana. And because of it, as I mentioned, that 2-16 record. A lot of roster change, a lot of turnover for Connecticut year over year. But what has been the biggest issue for the Sun in 2025, resulting in this very large spread today against Seattle?
It's just been cohesiveness. Like you said, with all the roster turnover, they've been one of the best teams in the league for the last several years, but they lost basically the entire core. And the one piece that they brought back was Marina Mabry, and she's been hurt for the last several games and is out again for this one. So it's been really tough to just kind of gel and for them to integrate some of these pieces. And they're relying on a lot of rookies who at times have looked impressive and at times have looked like rookies. You have Anissa Morrow, Sanaya Rivers, players like that, J.C. Sheldon, a young player, some of these players who haven't been in the league in quite a while, like Haley Peters. So it's just been really tough, I think, for them, not just from a talent standpoint now on paper, but also from a chemistry standpoint to really get things rolling.
It's been interesting to watch like things play out that way too. But a team is on sale. Where are they going to move? You know, do they have the right aspects there on their team? And we'll get to that. But that should be an easy victory. But I think the game of the day, and how about this? A noon start midweek on a Wednesday. The Valkyries versus the Indiana Fever, and all eyes on the prize because the Fever certainly are ratings, and they mean extra ratings when Caitlin Clark is back. The expectations here are for her to play today. Have you heard the same thing, Calvin? And also, what are those expectations for you if she does play today?
Yeah, it does look like she is going to suit up for this one, which is good news. I expect her to play well. You know, she's been in kind of a slump this year. And of course, part of that was the different injuries that she sustained. But also we saw right before that last injury, she was on a 1 for 23 from 3. A lot of those games were on the road. And the one game that she did come back from injury, the first injury that she sustained, she absolutely went off at home on national TV against at the time, first place New York Liberty. She has been good at home, and she has been good when she's rested. She has just struggled to hit shots when she's going on those short turnaround road trips. So the fact that they've taken their time with her and rightfully so have been very cautious with her and not rushed her back, I think is going to really benefit her in this one. Now, the Valkyries defense has been extremely tough. Top 2 defensive rating in the league, even as an expansion team. And the last time they played, they really did a good job of smothering her. But now, again, rested and at home, I do think it's a good spot for her to come back and return with a bang. So I'm looking for a big game out of her today.
A couple of those prop looks for CC, 17.5 points, 8.5 dimes, 2.5 made threes. As Calvin was referencing, 1 of 23 from 3 in her final 3 games before that groin injury has sidelined Caitlin Clark for her last 5. She has missed 10 total games this year. First the quad, now the groin. Being injured has not been something Caitlin Clark has been used to throughout her basketball playing career. Played in every game last year despite the tight turnaround from the end of her collegiate days, and every single game inside Carver Hawkeye and Iowa City during her time playing for the Hawks. All right, as we move it forward, 4 games, as we have talked about, Calvin, around the WNBA today, and a really good one. Also in the afternoon hours, locally in downtown Phoenix, it's the Mercury and the Lynx. The Lynx, the best team in the W this year, 17-2. 7-point road favorite today in the Valley against Phoenix. But keep an eye on the Mercury, tied for that second best mark, now at 13-6. The game today, Calvin, as you see the headline there, might this be a potential WNBA Finals preview?
It's certainly got a shot. The Liberty still are certainly in that running as well. Once they get Jonquel Jones back, they've been struggling without her, but she should be back at a minimum for that playoff run, if not end of the regular season. But the Mercury have been so impressive, and they've dealt with injuries of their own right, more than Jonquel Jones even, when you look at the number of players that they've had to deal with in and out of the rotation. And again, tonight, they're without 2 of their big 3. Alyssa Thomas is playing. Kalia Copper and Satu Sabli are out, as they were last game. But Nate Tibbetts continues to do an amazing job with this team, just kind of putting all the pieces together and running extremely beautiful and crisp offense, no matter who's in the lineup. So absolutely, this team has a chance to make some noise and maybe even make a finals run and turn this into a finals preview tonight. I love what this Mercury team has done, and I think they've been one of the best stories in the league.
4 games on tap today, 11 a.m., 12 p.m., 3:30. And the nightcap tonight, the Dallas Wings struggling on the season, maybe as expected here, some injuries there, but certainly a promising future. Taking on the Chicago Sky, and Angel Reese has been sensational the past week to week and a half here. The expectations for the Wings and Sky for you tonight here, Calvin.
Yeah, this is an interesting game. I think it's rightfully around a pick'em or a 1-point spread here. When you look at the Sky, are a little bit of a better team and a little bit healthier. Well, like you said, Arike Agumbawale is out. Some other players, Dejanay Carrington for the Wings. But at the same time, the Sky are on a back-to-back, and we talked about it off air. They had to travel in between these back-to-backs where you have to hop on a plane after a hard-fought game. They lost at the very end last night, and then turn around and play this one. That's a tough ask, even as well as Angel Reese is playing. So I think this is going to be a close one. Could go either way.
6 straight double-doubles for Angel Reese, despite the loss yesterday in D.C. 22 points, 15 boards. She's been hooping. Calvin Wetzel, thanks so much for being here, man. We appreciate the time. We're on the early line next.
That is the idea. It really is for in-game live. Have you said it? The home team who's a double-digit or close to it anyway favorite and get off to a bad start and actually have them trailing by 5, 6, 7 to the point where you get it at pick'em. And I don't know how many times. I'd like to know a stat of how many times a team that's been favored by double digits, trailed by double digits, and actually won the game. I bet it's a lot.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
You've got issues up and down here. The bullpen is falling apart, to put it nicely. And have you seen the schedule for the Yankees for the rest of the month of July here? We have Seattle, then we have the Cubs, then you have Atlanta, then you have Toronto again in Toronto. That really didn't go all that well this week. And then you have Philadelphia and Tampa. Good luck to the Yankees in July here.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know, once you get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team, who is the point guard? And then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking to be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, like, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. Like, it's really bad. Now, the past couple weeks, like, every day I'm looking at the Blue Jays going like, ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that were in household names at the beginning of the year.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Putting a bow on a couple of conversations we have had today over these 3 hours on the early line on SportsGrid as we round out our show. I'm Ben Stevens. We look at those WNBA championship odds, a quadruple header today. There has been some conversation, of course, around the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark. In the 5 games she has missed, the Fever have won 3 of them, including the upset in the WNBA Commissioner's Cup in Minneapolis against the first place Lynx. Are the Fever better without Caitlin Clark? It's an asinine comment. It's an asinine thought. Do not allow yourself to be drawn into that. It would be one thing if Caitlin Clark was ball dominant and was a ball hog. She set a WNBA record for the most assists in a single season last year during her rookie campaign. At her core, she is a facilitator, and then she gives us those special moments in the trademark logo shots that have been a part of her illustrious career. It is interesting now, though, if Clark can remain healthy, already missing 10 games this year, by far the most she has ever missed in a single season of her basketball playing days, what the Fever's outlook is for the remainder of this year. You heard from Calvin Wetzel in our previous segment. The Liberty got a win yesterday at home against the Aces, but that was without Asia Wilson for Las Vegas in the second half. It has not been crystal clear for our reigning WNBA champs this season in New York. Breanna Stewart, the reigning MVP, has not looked great, and the Liberty have been struggling without Double J in Jonquel Jones. Still 13-6. Everything is a struggle relative to our expectations. The Minnesota Lynx have been lights out. They are 17-2 outright. They are 11-0 outright at home, not counting the Commissioner's Cup loss at home because it doesn't count to your regular season record. But the Lynx have been great. I bet them a few weeks ago, as I have shared, closer to a 3-1 price. It's now plus 195. But you see the Fever there, tied for the third best number alongside one of the better stories this year in the W, that being the Phoenix Mercury. If Caitlin Clark is healthy, can Indiana make that run? They made the offseason improvements. They added DeWanna Bonner. Well, she's gone. She's now in Phoenix. But Aaliyah Boston, an all-star. Kelsey Mitchell, an all-star. You've got some great pieces around the rest of this Fever squad and a proven head coach in Stephanie White that can certainly get the job done. If Caitlin Clark remains healthy, track that price on the Fever to win a WNBA title. It is plus 650 as it stands. All right, elsewhere in sports, big day today, of course, in Major League Baseball on this Wednesday, a full slate around the bigs. We talked about a game up in the Bronx, the Mariners and the Yankees. Good game, right? Two teams battling for wild card spots as it stands. New York trying to get back in the divisional race. 3.5 games trailing. The red hot Blue Jays, who have won 10 straight, likely to make it 11 in a row, favored to do so in Chicago. The Yankees favored at home today. They trail by 3.5 games and yet are still the divisional favorites at plus 100 to win the American League East. Those even money favorites. The Yanks have the second best price to win the American League pennant as well. Seattle in a wild card spot, holding off the Red Sox by a game where things stand. And it's interesting, though, when you have the Pinstripes and the M's competing, because it's not just about these teams in the final week before the All-Star break. Of course, it is that two-player race in the home run race around Major League Baseball. We haven't seen these sort of numbers by the time we get to the All-Star break in the middle of July in quite some time. It's Big Dumper, and it's the captain, number 99 in Pinstripes. Cal Raleigh first for Seattle. 36 home runs. Hit a long ball yesterday at Yankee Stadium. Sure, his M's did fall 10-3. Aaron Judge, not the main power force yesterday. That was Giancarlo Stanton and Austin Wells expanding that lead for New York, but Aaron Judge did go deep as well. 36 homers for Cal Raleigh this year, the most in the bigs. 34 home runs for Aaron Judge. Again, this kind of reminds us of the late 90s, right? Those great home run races in a foregone era of Major League Baseball. Aaron Judge remains the hefty favorite to win the American League MVP award, as has been the case all year, minus 1,500. Big Dumper Cal Raleigh, second best price at 7-1. But as Raleigh continues to hold off Judge in the MLB home run race, how will that continue to play out the remainder of this season? Raleigh today to hit a home run at Yankee Stadium, plus 164. Aaron Judge, second best number, but incredibly short as well at plus 176. And yet it is Judge trailing Raleigh by 2 home runs for that MLB lead. That is a minus money, minus 155 favorite to lead all the bigs in homers this year. It's important for Cal Raleigh to take advantage of the warm weather on the East Coast when he's playing out of the Pacific Northwest. The early line returns tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, here on SportsGrid.
In Cooper Flag, and LeBron's kid who averaged 5.5 points in his 1 year of Division I basketball. I'm not saying LeBron is a poor player, but I don't see him as an equal attraction or an equal.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Things you have to look at is what the team has the following day, especially when it comes to bullpen usage. You know, a lot of the things I like to attack is you see these extra inning games, these games get drawn out, these bullpens get worn, or if someone gets shelled the first 3 innings and they got to go to the pen, early, that's a good spot to kind of hop in the middle of the next game. You got a tired bullpen, right? You try and take advantage there, maybe with an over, maybe with the money line. You're getting plus money on a favorite at that point.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Piece of an interesting couple of weeks in California, if you recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino. There is no legal online sports betting.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker had to run the point when Chris Paul was hurt. And we're like, Devin Booker's a point guard. Devin Booker's not a point guard. Neither is Jalen Green. So I need to know what to get rid of Bradley Beal, who cannot be on that team. Who is the point guard And then I think as a sixth man, I actually don't mind it with Jalen Green.
Betting above the